To begin with, Indigenous people are the first people to be living in a place. Indigenous people have lived in Canada for over 12,000 years, long before it was even called Canada. According to Statistics Canada, in 2016, there were around 1.6 million Aboriginal people living in Canada, which is 4.9% of the total population. Most Indigenous people would rather be called by the title of their nation, such as Algonquin, Cree, Haida, Mohawk, etc. But if people don't know what nation someone is, it's better to use the word Indigenous. Aboriginal, Native, and Indian words aren't used as often anymore. In some cases, those words can even be hurtful.
Indigenous people are ethnic groups who are the original or earliest inhabitant of an area. There are three different groups of indigenous people: the First Nation, Métis, Inuit. The First Nations are the most varied and largest group. They are found all over Canada. According to the recent census, 58.4% were First Nation people of the Aboriginal population in Canada. There are a lot of groups such as Algonquin, Cree, Haida. All groups have their own culture, laws, and languages. There are 634 First Nations communities in Canada, having more than 50 nations and 50 indigenous languages, and it influences on Canadians' life and culture. For example, the name of Canada comes from First Nations word Kanata. The meaning is village or settlement.
The Inuit are one of three Aboriginal people of Arctic Canada. Inuit communities are located across Northwest Territories, Nunavut, Quebec, and Labrador. Inuit people call this location Nunavut. Inuit were called Eskimo, and this term came into the 17th century. The term was used to describe people staying in the Arctic regions of Canada. According to a national household survey, Statistics Canada estimated that 59,440 people in Canada are about 4.2% Aboriginal population, and they identify themselves as Inuit. The Inuit were hunters and gatherers that would move seasonally. The Inuit have never been subject to the Indian Act, and they were ignored by the Canadian federal government, as stated in an article. In 1939 is when a court decision ruled that Inuits were a federal responsibility.
In French, the word métis is referred to someone of mixed descent, born of French and Scottish fur traders, and Creed, Ojibwe, Stito, and Inuit women. The Métis were distinct of both Indian and European. Louis Riel, the leader of the Métis people, fought for Métis rights, their land, and for their just. He was born of the Red River settlement, which is also known today as Manitoba. Through the late 1970s and early 1980s, Jim Sinclair pushed to have Métis and non-status Indian rights recognized in the Constitution, helping establish the Native Council of Canada. When the Constitution was repatriated in 1982, the First Nations, Inuit, and Métis were recognized as Indigenous people with rights under Canadian